Mauro Prosperi entered the Marathon des Sables, expecting one of the toughest races on earth, but instead, he became hopelessly lost in the unforgiving Sahara desert. For 9 days he battled for survival, even resorting to drinking his own urine and eating live bats just to stay alive. How did a challenging race become a desperate fight for life? Today, we unravel Mauro Prosperi's incredible survival story. If you're fascinated by survival stories, make sure to like and subscribe. Now let's dive into this extraordinary tale. As always, listen closely. You never know when this knowledge might save your life. Chapter 1. The Marathon begins. Mauro Prosperi, an experienced Italian police officer and avid runner, had always sought out challenges that pushed his physical and mental limits. In 1994, he decided to take on the Marathon des Sables, one of the most grueling endurance races in the world. This 6-day, 155-mile ultramarathon takes place in the heart of the Sahara Desert, where temperatures often soar above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Prosperi had trained extensively for months. He knew the risks, from the blistering heat to the vast open desert with its unpredictable conditions. Confident in his abilities, he was eager to conquer the challenge. All competitors started the race together in the morning, but due to the small number of participants and differing paces, each person soon found themselves running almost entirely alone. Prosperi quickly found his rhythm, pushing through the intense heat and treacherous terrain. The first few days went according to plan. Prosperi kept pace with the leading runners, staying focused on the path ahead. However, the Sahara Desert is notorious for its sudden sandstorms, and on the 4th day, a violent storm swept through the course, reducing visibility to near zero. The storm was relentless, with howling winds and stinging sand. Prosperi tried to take shelter multiple times, but was continuously covered by sand. Fearing that, Prosperi continued running for the entire 7-hour storm, determined to stay on the marathon trail. However, when the storm finally subsided, the landscape had dramatically changed. The markers that guided the runners had been buried or blown away, leaving Prosperi disoriented and uncertain of his location. With no clear direction and no other runners in sight, Prosperi made a critical decision: to continue running in the direction he believed was correct, hoping to find his way back to the course. At this point, he still had winning a medal in this race on his mind. But as the hours passed, and the desert stretched endlessly before him, it became painfully clear that he was lost. The Marathon des Sables, once a test of endurance, had now become a fight for survival in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Little did he know, the desert's true test had only just begun. Chapter 2. Lost in the Sahara. The first challenge Mauro Prosperi faced was the brutal heat. The sun beat down relentlessly, sapping his strength and forcing him to conserve energy. Prosperi knew that dehydration would be his greatest enemy. He had almost no supply of water, only meant to last for short stretches between checkpoints. Now, with an almost empty bottle and a little food, these were all he had to survive. With no one in sight and night approaching, Prosperi decided to find a spot to rest, hoping to be rescued the next day. For a brief moment, it seemed his plan might work as a helicopter flew close by. Desperate to be seen, he tried to signal his location with everything he had, but the pilot didn't spot him. Imagine the frustration and despair, so close to rescue, yet still so far away. Despite these challenges, Prosperi remained determined to survive. Realizing that staying put wasn't an option, he attempted to retrace his steps back to where he had lost the marathon trail. But in the vast, featureless desert, finding his way back was nearly impossible. As the hours stretched on, he grew increasingly disoriented and exhausted, with the harsh desert environment taking its toll. As hope seemed to fade, Prosperi suddenly spotted something in the distance, a Muslim shrine. He hoped that someone might be living there who could help him. The small, dilapidated building offered some much-needed respite from the elements, but unfortunately it was abandoned. Chapter 3. Struggle for Survival. As Mauro Prosperi took refuge in the abandoned Muslim shrine, the gravity of his situation became increasingly apparent. The small, dilapidated building offered him some protection from the relentless Sahara sun, but it was far from a true sanctuary. Inside, Prosperi discovered a colony of live bats. Driven by sheer desperation, he used his pocket knife to decapitate the bats, extracting their blood and eating their raw flesh. Though far from palatable, this grim meal offered just enough nourishment to keep him alive. He then buried the remains of the beast outside the shrine. Prosperi first stayed in the shrine, battling hunger, dehydration, and the unforgiving elements. The brutal temperatures fluctuated wildly, scorching during the day and freezing at night. The intense heat sapped his remaining strength, while the cold nights robbed him of what little rest he could manage. He scavenged for anything that could offer the slightest nourishment, consuming insects and lizards he found inside and around the shrine. Then, hope flickered briefly in the form of an airplane engine overhead. Hearing the distant roar, Prosperi's heart leaped at the possibility of rescue. He immediately set a fire to create smoke and carved SOS into the sand, hoping to catch the pilot's attention. But just as quickly as hope had appeared, it was snatched away. A sudden sandstorm swept through, obliterating the SOS signal and shrouding the shrine in a blinding cloud of dust. The plane passed by without noticing him, leaving Prosperi in crushing despair. Now convinced that he would never be rescued, and knowing that if his body wasn't found, his wife wouldn't receive his police pension, he decided to end his life. In Italy, if someone goes missing, their family must wait 10 years before they can be declared dead and receive any benefits. Determined to ensure that his body would be discovered, Prosperi placed an Italian flag at the roof of the shrine and used a razor blade to cut his wrists. But even in this dark moment, the desert refused to let him go. The extreme dehydration had thickened his blood, causing the wounds to clot quickly. When he woke the next day, still alive despite his weakened state, a renewed resolve surged within him, driven by an unwavering will to survive. Mauro Prosperi refused to surrender. He patched up his wounds and decided to do whatever it took to survive. With no other options left, Prosperi began drinking his own urine to stave off dehydration. This last-ditch effort was his only way to keep his body functioning. Realizing that he couldn't stay in the shrine forever, Prosperi knew he had to leave and began to walk, continuing his struggle for survival in the harsh Sahara. For the next 6 days, he trekked through the desert, mostly traveling at dusk and dawn to avoid the worst of the sun's heat, pushing his body and spirit to their absolute limits. As the days dragged on, Prosperi's physical condition deteriorated rapidly. His body began to shut down from lack of water, and his mind started to play cruel tricks on him. The isolation and extreme conditions took a severe toll on his mental state. He began to hallucinate, seeing mirages of oases and hearing voices that weren't there. Chapter 4. The Miraculous Rescue. During the 9th day, Mauro Prosperi was at the end of his rope, both physically and mentally. His body was weak, his mind was clouded with despair, and the vast, unforgiving Sahara offered no mercy. But it was precisely at this moment, when all hope seemed lost, that his story took a miraculous turn. In his delirium, Mauro noticed what he thought was a mirage, small things moving in the distance. Mustering the last of his strength, he stumbled toward it, hoping against hope that it was real. As he grew closer, he realized they were goats being herded by a young girl. He had reached a Berber settlement. The Tuaregs, accustomed to the harsh realities of the desert, immediately recognized that Mauro was in desperate need of help. A group of Tuareg women took him in, offering goat's milk. Prosperi was initially unable to digest it, and vomited due to days of starvation and dehydration. The camp's Tuareg men placed Prosperi on a camel and took him to the nearest village, where he was handed over to military police. Suspected of being a spy, he was blindfolded and interrogated at a military base. Only after finding his race papers did they realize he was a lost marathon runner. He was then transferred to a hospital in Tindouf, where doctors, amazed by his 9-day survival in such extreme conditions, called it a miracle. Mauro Prosperi had done the impossible. He had endured 9.5 days in the Sahara Desert, surviving on little more than sheer willpower. After wandering 180 miles off course from the marathon track, traversing the Jebel Bani mountain range, and unknowingly crossing the Moroccan border into Algeria, he had been rescued at the very moment he had nothing left to give. His story became a legend, a testament to the human spirit's ability to fight on even in the most hopeless situations. Chapter 5. The Inspiring Aftermath. Mauro Prosperi's ordeal didn't end with his rescue. After being found and receiving medical care, it took him nearly 2 years to fully recover. But his resilience didn't stop there. Back in Rome, a journalist asked him, "Will you run the marathon again?" He replied, "I always finish my races." After rebuilding his strength, Prosperi honored his promise by returning to the Marathon des Sables in 1997. Over the years he went on to complete the race 9 more times, with his final participation in 2017. Notably, he finished 13th in 2001, proving that his spirit and determination remained unbroken despite the harrowing experience he endured in the Sahara. Mauro's story of survival in the Sahara has inspired many around the world, showcasing the incredible resilience of the human will. If you found Mauro's story as captivating as we did, be sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible survival tales. Until next time, stay curious and stay strong.